and welcome to Dojo Live this Friday, an unusual Friday show for us, August 9th, 2024. I am your host, Kim Lantis, and I'm a very exciting day for me because we are going to be discussing business travel breakthroughs and predictions from GBTA 2024. It is still conference and convention season. And to kick it off and to join me about their experiences are travel experts Todd Arthur of Sabre. Hello, Todd.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here today. We also have Puri of Verbal Tech and Shridhar Padmanabhan of Ancora. Hi, guys.
Hey, Kim.
Hello. So we are so eager to really talk about what we heard, what we saw, what we discussed while at the convention. Our goal here is to just help other organizations both adapt to the future of business travel, recognize some of the latest solutions that are out there, actionable advice that we gathered, of course. But before we do, it would be really great to kind of get to know you guys just a little bit. So if you could take a minute to share us with your background, some of your experience, what excites you about the industry. We can start with you, Marvel, if you'd like.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Kim. It's always a pleasure to join you in Dojo Live. Nice to meet you, Todd, Shridhar. I'm Marvel. I'm co-founder and chief commercial officer at Verbotech. We help travel companies do better at their accommodation data that they're selling. And happy to be here. Yes, looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you. Todd, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. Again, really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you on a beautiful Friday afternoon. And so I run our commercial business in North America, as well as Get There, which is an online booking tool that we own at Sabre. So been in the industry for quite some time. Really excited about where the industry is headed. I'm excited about our conversation today to talk about some of the things that we're doing at Sabre that enables the industry to move forward. So looking forward to the conversation today.
Perfect. And thank you. Shridhar, you're on the show quite often with me as a co-host, but let's talk about your experience as well in the industry.
So I'm a lot like Todd, a lot of time in the industry, but working with clients in the space, like Sabre, like the major platforms and other travel providers. So now with Ancora doing the same thing. So great to be here. Thank you.
Yes, it's our pleasure. I'd like to kick it off with you, Todd. We had a great conversation at the show. That's going to be on the website very soon as well. But one of the things at the convention that I noticed, there was a couple main themes. Kicking it off was NDC, the new distribution capabilities, of course. Sustainability stood out for me, as well as just a general interest in traveler wellness, among them. But when we talked in Atlanta, you mentioned the NDC isn't really new. It's been around, if I'm not mistaken, for over a decade now. But what was different about this year? What excited you, and what's going on at Sabre in terms of NDC?
Sure, Kim. If you've not heard of NDC, I'm not sure what rock you've been under, because it's been talked about for many years, particularly over the last few years, the acceleration of the conversation around kind of NDC. What I'm most excited about is some of the achievements that we've accomplished at Sabre of really enabling NDC to be booked at scale through both our leisure and corporate travelers. And so as a traveler myself, having traveled a lot, I'm really excited about what NDC will bring to me as a traveler, as well as to what NDC will bring to our customers who are travel agencies around the globe, as well as to their customers, the end user, the travelers themselves.
Perfect. And was there anything super exciting about it? Anything new conversations and just making it better and better? Or has there been a shift at all over this past year?
Yeah, so, there's a lot of conversation around NDC, kind of what NDC is, I think, over the last few years. What is NDC? And people know what the acronym stands for, but what does it mean to me? And so at Sabre, one of the things I'm really excited about is the progress we've made in enabling NDC to our airline partners and to our agency partners. So we are now over 20 airlines NDC enabled with full servicing capabilities. So it's one thing just to have NDC available to be able to book, but we know in corporate travel, upwards of 50% of tickets change. Meetings end early, need to change the trip into trips. So being able to service those bookings is really a critical component for corporate travel. So I'm really excited about at Sabre that we've got 20 airlines or over 20 airlines live by the end of the year. So in just another 5 months, we will have a total of 35 airlines live, with a lot of airlines in the pipeline for 2025. I think by the end of December, around 85% of our current shopping trends will be with airlines that are NDC enabled. So again, NDC enabled as well as the servicing capabilities. So we're really excited about that. And I think we're just at the kind of the tip of the iceberg of what the capabilities will bring to the industry. So right now it's just another kind of content source. But down the road, there's a lot of talk about personalization and other things that we will benefit as travelers, as well as your customers, the end consumers, will benefit from.
That is exciting. That it's no longer just this thing floating around or this idea. We're actually seeing it come to fruition. And one of the education sessions that I got to participate in talked about attribute-based buying, which is, I guess, this new idea about being basically the NDC equivalent for airlines, but for hotels. So it's a rippling effect, of course. One of the other themes that I mentioned, a really big one that I noticed all around the GBTA convention, was one of sustainability. And given the increasing emphasis on sustainability in business travel, I'm wondering, Marvell, what companies are doing to minimize their environmental impact. What role travelers play in this? What you talked about? I know you were at the sustainability pavilion, right, on the floor.
I think yeah. Thanks. I think if you see sustainability as a concept, or the integration of sustainability in travel is not as old as NDC, if I may say, but it's kind of been crawling in for a couple of years now, I think. And as an industry, I think we've matured from an awareness stage to an implementation stage, and an integration stage, right? So I see a lot of companies that are moving in the space of integration, compliance, and I think the overall political narrative on the travel, sustainable travel, is also kind of crawling in pretty nicely, which is great. So some of the things that I observe when it comes to sustainable travel within in reference with GBTA, what I saw, was pretty impressed with what Hilton was doing with the Travel with Purpose program, what Accor is doing with Planet 21 as their program, JetBlue with Blue Horizons. So you could see these enterprises coming up with initiatives and programs, and giving it special projects within the organization, which is obviously also inferring travelers' decisions. So some of the reports, if you say based on Focusrite or Statistica, there's as high as 70% of travelers want to make a conscious choice for an eco-friendly, sustainable travel decision. So I think keeping all that in context, GBTA was a great refresher again, that anybody in travel who's not been thinking, or is still in the awareness stage. It's time to implement the new technologies, and those technologies are available. It could be measuring your impact, or just implementing a strategy to cut on your existing water waste, or whatever you have in hospitality stage. But again, I think what is interesting to see is now we have tools to measure, we have frameworks to implement, and we have companies like Hilton, Accor, JetBlues, and more in position to drive that change for travelers. So yeah, those are my observations at GBTA in specific, Kim.
Absolutely. And I think, like you mentioned here, one is regulations. It's something that it has to be done, right? It's more and more, this is something that has to happen. Another interesting perspective that I got was just from the travel manager side, because now they're being held accountable to having to report on this. And it used to be relatively simple, the reporting that they needed to do, and now it's coming from many different sources, much deeper numbers and intricate things. And so I think that's a space too where technology needs to step up the game. We can measure it, but now how do we access that and make it easy to report on, and then make it actionable, especially for the up and coming business traveler, the younger generation, who's fully behind it, I think. Any thoughts on that, Todd or Shridhar?
Yeah, one thing I would say, first of all, I'm really proud of the sustainability efforts that we've made at Sabre, because it's really important that we have a program in place and we're able to do more than just provide awareness, but be able to influence kind of booking behavior. And I think one of the things, to go back to your question around NDC, if you understand how NDC is booked in a graphical interface, so not booked in the cryptic environment. And one of the things as a traveler, what you want to be able to do is, as a travel manager, to be able to report on it. But ideally, you want to be able to influence those decisions, and so that the reporting that comes out the back end is like, hey, we've actually improved our footprint in sustainability efforts. And I think having those inputs in graphical to be able to have allow a traveler to make an informed choice. There's a lot of great technology out there. Again, we have at Sabre a sustainability effort, but be able to make informed decisions about hotels that have a green footprint, about carbon footprint on flights, et cetera. I think that's really exciting about what NDC will bring, is also the ability to influence behavior before actually a trip is made.
Absolutely, and making it easy. Because even when we have the intention, sometimes it's like, and it's just the easy option, right? Just like it's easier to buy a water bottle than it is to carry my own. Shridhar, what are some of your takes here on what you've heard both from Marvel, from Todd, and your own experience at GBTA?
Thanks, Kim. One of the very interesting statistics, which was a takeaway for me, was that post-COVID, I'm trying to recollect. I think, Kim, it's one of the sessions that you and I were both there. Post-COVID, in 2023, for the first time, the dollar spent on hotels for a business trip was higher than the dollar spent on air, right? Fewer trips, longer stays. And the takeaway was that, hey, there are fewer trips, longer stays, but they're also combining, leisure travel with the work trip, if it works out for the family and things like that, right? And that I found fascinating, one part of it. The other part was some of what Todd was mentioning about, I mean, NDC is a part of it, but how hotels are gearing up to, let's say, take a little bit more of the leisure dollars from the business/leisure traveler. And in some cases, they're all the same person, right? And in-trip marketing as well. So I think both in terms of capabilities by companies like Sabre, the aggregation of these offerings by these hotels, and that things are changing, right? It's no longer just a business trip. I'm not saying for everybody, but there are trends. I find all of this fascinating, and I would love to hear more from you, Todd, and Marvel. What do you think? What are your own observations about changing behavior, and how companies like Sabre and Vertec, what else do you see changing?
Well, I could just start off by saying one of the things that we've seen. First of all, we used to, pre-pandemic, had a very kind of highly repeatable business, so we understood travel patterns. You traveled for work 3 times a year, you typically maintain that. And then the pandemic obviously changed a lot of the travel kind of behavior that we described of more of these leisure.
Did we lose Todd for just a second? Or is it just me? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So one of the things that we're really excited about at Sabre is that since November of 2023, we've seen a consistent recovery of the corporate travel space. And so this is the first time that we've had a sustained recovery for this period. We'd seen like kind of unevenness in the recovery. So as recovery happens in a sustainable way, or in a sustained way, what we're really excited about is how can you now influence decisions and the ability to make informed decisions. So as industry recovers, we now have the opportunity through technical partners that we have through Sabre to be able to make informed choices. And those are, I can believe, choices that will kind of carry on throughout the traveler kind of behavior, not just in 2024, but beyond.
For sure. And I think there's also the need to facilitate that for the travel manager as well, right? To make sure that they can take those things into consideration. Marvel, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, so again, business travel and leisure travel, they were isolated, I would say, years and years ago. But as Todd was saying, with the possibility of understanding user behavior and their booking patterns with all the data libraries that we host today, we're able to cohesively see that data and see how business travel and leisure travel kind of come together. And hence the term leisure, which is widely used now. I think the I think the aware, I go back to understand that if you look at demographics of travelers, right, and it is to do with how they're perceiving their lifestyle choices, and they're being able to now make those lifestyle choices in the travel as well. So let's say, as a traveler, which as a person, or as a segment of a traveler, I did not have the right tools or information to make a decision which was conscious, which was eco-friendly, or had a lower carbon emission, right, which is sustainable. But now it's available. So these allow me to be more natural. It's allowing me to be natural, my natural self, to be able to buy travel more sustainably as well. So right, so I think that's what these technology companies, and Saber's at a great spot, for example, by driving this, where they're able to offer this to enterprises and to travelers as well. Of course, travel managers play a great role in bringing those options to their customers.
It's interesting that you mentioned to be my true self. And I think this mixed with bleisure is one of these problems that we hear often on Dojo Live, and this attempt at personalization, but then also this need to distinguish who's the traveler, who's traveling. Is it the Dojo Live and Cora Kim and a business trip, or is it Kim with her family going on vacation? And so that's like an interesting how this starts to, even we want to personalize it, but then it starts to blend, right? Because bleisure is coming about, and we're be able to becoming our more true selves in all facets. I think that's interesting in terms of the take of the future of what's happening in the industry. What other predictions might we have for business travel, for travel in general, that you kind of see evolving over the next few years, Todd?
Yeah, our industry, and we started off the conversation talking about, everybody on this call is, we're really passionate about the industry. We're passionate about traveling. We're passionate about the industry. And I would say in my 2+ decades of being in the corporate travel space, the pace of change is accelerating. You could say that's NDC, but there's a lot of things that are changing, the way payments are managed, et cetera. The way that we are as travelers, or we are connected through the lifestyle of through the entire trip. And so to me, I'm really excited about some of the things that we're doing at Sabre that really improves that experience, improves the ability for payments, right? It's an opportunity for corporations to better attract spend. It's an opportunity for corporations and agencies to generate new lines of revenue, which is important coming out of the pandemic. So I would say that the pace of change through kind of the corporate travel industry is accelerating. And as a traveler, I'm really excited about it. Someone that's passionate about the industry, I'm really excited about it. There's a lot of great new kind of technology providers that are out there. It's really great to see them coming and bringing value and sustainability efforts in the payment space. And so we're really excited at Sabre. We about 3 years ago bought a company called Confirma, which provides technology in the payment space. And again, we are innovating. We're bringing things to the forefront that brings efficiencies to operations. We signed a 10-year exclusive partnership with Google, actually just before the pandemic, and we're really excited to see some of those kind of co-developed products coming to our agency partners, which brings efficiencies in your operations, improves the traveler experience while increasing revenue, decreasing costs. So really a lot of change happening in the industry, and so I think it's an exciting time to be in corporate travel.
It is exciting, and I like how it seems like you can't have one without the other. You can't have the fast pace without the co-development, Like, I think that's a beautiful sentiment of just creating this industry and the environment that we want
Absolutely.
together. Marvel, what are you seeing for the future?
I think, it's clearly to Todd's point, right? I think the size of travel is going to grow, and we are at now we're at crossroads where technology is available within with interesting companies solving different problems coming together. So holistically, I think the growth of travel was kind of I would say pulled back because of because of lack of fast technology. But now the technology supports the overall growth of travel, and especially in business travel. So we're going to see definitely a lot of growth in business travel, and technology complementing that growth as well. So it won't slow us down. It would actually propel our growth overall. And that's this that is a great it's for all of us in business travel. It's a great time, because we're able to use technology, put all those pieces together, and grow the size of travel. And and that growth is is the overall size of travel, but also the customer experience, the awareness, sustainability, and so on. So grow travel in the right way, I would say.
Thank you. Shridhar, the future.
Yeah, I think this whole rich context information that bubbles up to the traveler, even in business travel, is something that's coming up, and I'm really looking forward to how that manifests through the sales cycle. As sales cycle, and as Marvel said, hey, technology is making all of that more easily available. As Todd was saying, their companies like Sabre are just making all of these functionalities available. So how that actually gets picked up, how that gets picked up, as in how that gets implemented, how that gets executed, how that translates into customer experience. Very excited to see. I mean, that's that's kind of what I do for a living. So very excited
It
to see that.
is
Yeah.
the customer
I
experience,
would-
the growth side. Go ahead.
Yeah. I would just say that the pace of change is, as I mentioned, is accelerating, and having kind of partners like what Marvel was talking about, that being able to connect well with your technology partners and your providers. And I think it's kind of more important now than ever to really have established relationships with providers who are innovating, who are thinking about the future. Because if not, you're going to get left behind. And this is not like, you can course correct in another year or two. Things are moving so quickly that if you're not kind of deeply kind of connected in with technology providers that you trust, that are innovating, that are partnering with you together, you're in a really kind of risky place, in my opinion, about just given the pace of change in this industry.
Right.
Wow. And that actually was one of another theme, NDC sustainability aside, I noticed, at least on the main stage at GBTA, it was really all about this idea of embracing innovation, embracing change. We had the AI podcast guys come about and share their tips about how, to get involved and to feel comfortable with this fast pace. We had this entire idea with Bertrand Piccard, I think, with the completely solar powered flying,
Right.
and airplane, all of this stuff. So my question for you guys in terms of embracing this, what strategies are you using at Sabre, at Variable Tech, at Encora, as companies, and also just even as individuals, to make sure that it's not scary but exciting? What kind of words of wisdom would you have for the audience?
I would say at Sabre, it's about partnership. And again, I mentioned the Google partnership that we established with them back in 2020. And having a partner like Google, who has enabled Sabre to kind of co-develop things that we're working on, that we're innovating for the industry, particularly in the corporate travel space. And I think, again, it's just so important that you are, kind of embracing change. It's one of the things at Sabre, we have a really dynamic team. We've got a phenomenal CEO who is like thinking about the future, and we've got a team who's driving that forward. So I think it is, if you're kind of stuck in the ways of like, this is the way we've always done things and things are going to change, really I'm concerned that you're going to get left behind as things develop and change. So embracing change is not always easy. Back to my previous comment. So partnering with folks who are innovating, with companies like Sabre, other companies that are out there that are innovating. I think it's really important to stay closely connected and embrace change, because if you don't, it's going to be a pretty scary place for you to be in.
Yeah, don't go it alone. I love it.
Sure.
Marvel, what about you? What is some of your tips for
I
embracing that?
think, yeah. So for us, embracing change would also, from a size that you are, not all your bets or investments go right. So you have to basically, you always want to make a cognizant decision on who you're partnering with, but at the same time, you have to partner with a lot of people. So, we continue to invest in more integrations. We put our efforts in integrating new sources to get that, the relevant data that we can take to your consumer. And I can tell you that not all of them, go well, right? Some of them, some of the investments that you put in your time and resources may not really give you the best outcome. But that's really, I would say, the cost of doing business, right? So I think you've got to have a higher risk appetite in today's world to be working with different partners, different startups, different you know organizations, and look at that as an investment when you're integrating those partners, that because one small integration can change the direction of where your product is going, and 10 large enterprise integrations could go to waste. So I think you have to evaluate, and there has to be diligence in terms of what you're doing, but you have to take the risk in integrating new partners. And yeah, I mean, the fastest way to grow, and I would say the right way to grow, is to bring in partners together and work for a common purpose, right? Which is the consumer.
I like the variety bit that you've added to the conversation, because one never knows, right? A year ago we had no idea that generative AI was going to be what it is, and the people who partnered right early on, cool. Like, how awesome is that, right? They're light years ahead, it seems, of others. But how about you, Shridhar and Cora? What kinds of ways are you seeing this embracing of change play out?
Yeah, I think we're in a kind of interesting situation where we work with companies in travel and hospitality, bigger companies, smaller companies like a Sabre or a Vervotech, for example, digital, lot of enterprise as well as digital natives, but also in other industries. So we kind of get a ringside seat as to what different companies are trying, like whether it's a bigger company like a Sabre or a smaller company like a Vervotech, what they are trying, what seems to work, what are experiments they're doing. Doesn't mean we know the right answer, but we can see, what people are doing, and we can hopefully share some of that experiences with our customers and our partners, so that they can well, that's an interesting point of view. And whether, as Marvel said, to place a bet or not, is something that we can take a call on, we can provide an input on. All exciting things.
I love it. So we've got partnerships, we've got quantity, and we have visibility, right? Are some of the magic things. Perfect. We're coming to the final few minutes of the show. I cannot believe we're almost a half hour in already. I wanted to wrap it up just as you, as individuals. I know that Todd's mentioned this. We've all kind of mentioned it, this love for travel. As industry experts and seasoned business travelers yourself, and leisure travelers too, I just wanted you to share some personal strategies for getting the most out of business travel, and of course industry events like GBTA and networking opportunities. What have you found over all of these years that works really well, and that you probably counsel others to follow suit in? We can start with you, Todd, if you'd like.
Sure. I think it's all about connections, right? So one of the things that, one of our taglines we have at Sabre is we make travel happen, and we love to travel, whether it's personally or for business, to drive our business forward. It's all about connections. It's all about people, that human kind of connection that you have. So when I go to a GBTA, I make an attempt to meet new people, meet new players in the industry. So I'm staying kind of connected to kind of where the industry's headed. And it just, there's great things like, dojo.live is a great way to stay current on, what's happening in the marketplace. there's a lot of forums out there, but I really make an effort to stay connected. And then when I've met people, reach out through, LinkedIn and connect with them on email or text message, and stay connected with folks in the industry. And I've done that in my, I've been based previously in the Singapore office, running our Asia Pacific business. Stay connected with a lot of folks there. It helps me understand what's happening in the global marketplace, not just here in North America. So it's all about networking, and happy to do it here today.
Thank you. Marvel, what are your tips?
I think first, of course, the question is that as travelers, but one thing is I definitely encourage everybody to travel for business or pleasure, but definitely for business. I think it was last year where Jay's CEO mentioned that if you're not traveling as a leader, you're definitely going to be left behind. So clearly you have to invest in travel to maximize the output of your business travel. I think networking is that's when you go to these conferences, don't be shy talking to people. You have no idea what can come out of a new conversation. So just making those initial conversations. When I travel to these conferences, I make it a point that the booths that I want to cover as many booths as possible, at least understand what they're doing, pay attention to that. And then if I have questions, not to just kill that question in my mind, but just to go and ask that stupid question to the person at the booth. So I love doing that when I'm at the conferences. And business travel is tough, because you want to squeeze so much into your time, and the moment you're 2 days into travel, you start missing your family. So it's critical and that's where the pleasure comes in. So it's best to balance that time. So when you're before you travel, maybe spend some time with your family, take your spouse out for a nice dinner, and once you're back, spend some time with your kids. I know airport gifts could be expensive. So if you can find a goodie within the conference for your kids, do that. So those are some of my pro tips that work for me.
I love it. The kids swag. I came home a hero after GBTA for sure. And actually, that was one of the tips I got from High Tech from one of the CMOs, I think, of Agilysys. She was like, the best swag is whatever you can figure out for kids, because parents are going to grab it, and they're not just going to grab one, they're going to grab 2 or 3, because that's how many kids they've got. You need to avoid fist fights, right? And then they never want to throw it away. So then that brand name is floating around your house for a long time.
Kim, what's so great about your show? You not only get educated on business travel, you've got Marvel giving us relationship advice, which is super helpful. So this is
exactly, that's what we're all about, the authenticity and the connection. Sridhar, let's wrap it up with you. What are some of your tips for business travel and convention?
So my own strategy, my own tactics have changed a little bit. I think pre-pandemic there was a lot more travel, or the number of trips was more. Business trips was more. Now it's less so, especially when it comes to conferences or even sometimes business meetings. I find that I prefer to take a little half a day. I extend my work travel by half a day or so, either at the front end or at the rear end, just to make sure that I pay attention to what I'm going for and take care of it and invest the time while I'm there to take care of it, right? There is definitely less business travel. So the number of days I'm out is a lot less. Earlier, it used to be a little bit of a headless chicken syndrome. You have to go and come back and finish your sales forecast and this and that and everything else at the same time. So nowadays, because of a little bit less travel, I take a little bit more time either at the front end or at the back end. I understand it's away from home, but I do take it to make sure that the purpose is, let's say, I address the intent for which I'm going there as well as possible. So that's what I do.
Perfect intentionality. I love it. Well, thank you all so much. I know we've overshot, but it's been a great conversation with you today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your highlights about not only GBTA, but what it means for the industry, the future of the industry, your personal tips as well. As we wrap up, I would like to ask Todd, where can our viewers find more information about you and the work that Sabre is doing?
Sure, Sabre.com. There's all the information you need, and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Todd Arthur. Looking forward to connecting with you. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Marvel?
Yeah, well, it's www.verbotech.com, and there's my LinkedIn handle. So yeah.
All right. Perfect. And Shridhar, same goes for you, yeah?
Same thing. I mean, Encora.com and on LinkedIn. And well, I think I've been thinking about writings on LinkedIn because I was supposed to create some content for our website, which is going to take forever. It's going to be easy for
Intentionality.
me. It's going to be easy for me to write a half a page or something like that on LinkedIn. So let's see how that goes.
Perfect. All right. Good luck. Follow the content. Once again, thank you all, and thank you to our audience for tuning in. I would invite you to stay innovative and adaptable as we navigate the future of business travel together. Until next time, bye for now.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Kim.